Hello everyone, welcome to the CloudLearn AWS Zero to Hero series. This is the day 7. In this day 7 video, we are going to learn about a service called Elastic Compute Cloud, which is also known as EC2. So what is this Elastic Compute Cloud? Coming to this EC2, EC2 is AWS managed, highly available service highly available service which can offer resizable compute capacity in the cloud. So now the question is, what is this compute capacity? What is this compute capacity? Any guess? Compute capacity is the resources which requires to create a server. Based on this, we can say this EC2 provides a virtual machine in the cloud. EC2 can provide a virtual machine in the cloud. Virtual machine is nothing but a virtual server. Virtual machine is nothing but a virtual server. Why they are offering virtual? They will purchase a huge big server, a huge physical server in which they maintain a 512 GB of RAM and a 64 core CPU, terabytes of storage. Whenever a customer is looking for a server, they virtualize that entire physical server into smaller virtual servers. That is called as a virtual machine. So to how they will create these virtual machines, for that they use something called virtualization. They use something called virtualization. AWS uses virtualization to provide these EC2 instances. So there are different virtualization technologies available. The first one is the most popular one, VMware, right? Everybody might heard about the VMware, right? But Amazon don't use the VMware. They are using Citrix Xen server, and recently, a few years back, they adopted or they built their own virtualization called Nitro-based virtualization. All the latest servers are built on Nitro-based virtualization. Old kind of a servers are still using Citrix Xen server. And coming to this EC2, EC2 is an infrastructure as a service. EC2 is infrastructure as a service. What is the meaning of infrastructure as a service? They will offer you the infrastructure to build your servers. To build your servers. What kind of infrastructure they do maintain? What we need to create a server? The first one, CPU, right? Then next one, RAM we need, storage, networking, power supply, air conditioning, and there are n number of things. All these things are maintained and managed by AWS. This entire infrastructure is maintained and managed by AWS, which means you and me are not responsible to manage this infrastructure. Let us say suddenly the hard disk got crashed. Amazon's responsibility to replace it without losing any data. There is a power failure. Amazon's responsibility is to maintain alternate power supply without making your servers down. And this EC2 provides 99.99% of availability. Means at any given point of time, your EC2 instances are available 99.99% of time. So what exactly this availability, 99.99%? I mean, like how much time we can expect for a downtime. Just for that, there is a website called uptime.is just to check. And what is our availability? 99.99%. See here, for the 99.99% of service level agreement in a year, maximum 52 minutes your server might goes down. Maximum 52 minutes. It won't go down beyond 52 minutes, 9.8 seconds. What about 99.9? It's just 0.09% difference, right? But it gives you huge downtime, almost like 9 times. Because of just 0.09 percentage of service level agreement, there is nine times different availability, 9% more downtime. So Amazon is offering 99.99 percentage, which means in a year, maximum of less than 1 hour, your EC2 instance, which is a server, technically Amazon calls it as an instance. Your EC2 instance might goes down. Right. Now, how to create? While creating, before creating the first EC2 instance, we have to discuss a lot of terms. There are different terms. First thing, the EC2 offers few configuration options at the time of EC2 instance creation. Let me list out them first. Then we will discuss about each and every option in detail. At the time of EC2 instance creation, it can be a Windows instance, it can be a Linux, it can be a Mac, that doesn't matter. The concept is going to be the same, the procedure is going to be the same. So first thing, they offer you a purchasing model, then tenancy model, then finally instance family. While creating your EC2 instance, you must choose a purchasing model, tenancy model, and instance family. So first, let's talk about purchasing model. What is this purchasing model? There are different types of purchasing models available. There are different types of purchasing models available. According to your requirement, you have to choose the best suitable purchasing model. And EC2 offers three types of purchasing models. What are those? First one is on demand, the second one is a reserved, and the third one is a spot. Third one is spot. Okay, what is the meaning of on demand? What is the meaning of on demand? I think everybody might understand that term called on demand. Can you guess what might be this on demand purchasing model? On demand means your requirement whenever you need. Let us say if I need a car now, that means that is my demand for now, not forever. I need a car for 1 week. So my on demand is like I need a car for 1 week for traveling purpose. For that reason, I don't want to purchase it, right? Okay. In the same way, here this on demand purchasing model is the flexible purchasing model. Flexible purchasing model for EC2 instance creation. What is the meaning of a flexible? There is no commitment. There is no commitment means you can create the EC2 instance and you can delete the EC2 instance at any time. Let us say I need one server, which is technically EC2 instance, and that is going to be a Windows operating system. So what happens here? Whenever I need only for 1 hour, I can create at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. today, and I will delete at 6 p.m. So what happens in this case? Amazon will charge me for using that EC2 instance for 1 hour only. There is no commitment like agreement. There is no agreement like we have to use the server for like 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. We can create it at any time and we can delete it at any point of time. And you will be charged only for the duration, how much you have used. And the capacity means at the time of EC2 instance creation, you have to choose how much RAM you need, how much memory or CPU you need, uh, how much network bandwidth, internet network speed you need, right? That EC2 instance capacity, such as a CPU, RAM, and networking, can be resized at any time without losing the data, without any data loss. What is the use of that? Let us say I created a server with a 2 CPU and 4 GB of RAM. I have used it for like 2 days or 3 days. then I realized my application or my server is under performance. It is not performing well, which requires more CPU and more RAM. So instantly I can resize I can increase the capacity or I can reduce the capacity according to my requirement. And these EC2 instances are chargeable in the on-demand purchasing model per hour. EC2 instances will be charged per hour. How many hours you have running? Okay, here there is a simple thing. Let us say I created a server and I stopped it. So I will not be charged. Only while they are running, Amazon will charge you for those EC2 instances. And then the most important thing is there is no upfront charges. What is the meaning of upfront? No advance. No need to make any advance payment for this. It is the most flexible purchasing model. Whenever you need the server, you can create it. Whenever you don't need it, you can delete it. So how much duration you have run that particular EC2 instance, and you will be charged for that much duration only. Then the second model is reserved instances. The second one is reserved instances purchasing model. What is this? This is well suitable for if you have a requirement of an EC2 instance is to be run for 1 year or 3 years duration. Then the reserved instances are recommended. Why? Because they will provide you some discount with the reserved instances. They will provide you some discount. Why? Because we are giving a commitment. You must give a commitment in this case. Okay, I will explain with a little bit example. Let us say for on-demand EC2 instance, let us say per hour you will be charged $1. Then if you go for reserved instance, you will be charged like $0.50 per hour or so. Whether you use it or not, you have to give a commitment. Whenever you choose a reserved instances model, in the reserved instances, we have to provide a commitment of 1 year or a 3 years. Means you are giving commitment that I will use this EC2 instance, let us say for 1 year. Based on your commitment, they will give you some discount. During that particular tenure, whether you use it or not, whether you use it or not, you have to pay as per the commitment. As per the commitment, you have to make the payment. In the reserved instances, at the time of creating the reserved instances, we need to choose a payment plan for your payments. We must choose a payment plan. Based on the payment plan, you will get an extra discount also. Based on the payment plan, you will get an extra discount. EC2 offers the below payment plans. The first one is no upfront, means no need to make any advance payment. No need to make any advance payment. You have to pay on a monthly basis. At the end of the month, based on your usage, you have to make the payment. Then the next one is partial upfront. Partial upfront means 50% of the total cost of the reserved instance must be paid as advance. The remaining 50% we have to make on a monthly basis. Then full upfront. 100% of the total cost of the reserved instance must be paid as an advance. At this point, you might have a question. Why should no one will choose full upfront, like advance payment, as there is no upfront, no advance option, right? The reason is based on the term commitment and the payment plan, we will get discounts. Let us say with no upfront, you might get a 50% discount. Partial upfront, you might get 60% discount. If you are paying full upfront, you will get 70% discount. That's why I can say based on your term commitment, like 1 year or 3 years, And a payment plan, no upfront, partial upfront, and full upfront, you will get up to 70% discount. If you are giving more commitment, you will get more discount. During the committed period, in general, by default, you cannot resize the capacity of the instances. You cannot resize the capacity of the instances. Means if I create a server, EC2 instance, with a 4 GB of a RAM and 2 CPU core and 100 GB of network bandwidth for a 1 year commitment, then I have to keep that. I can't change it. But Amazon introduced a new option called types of reserved instances. Types of reserved instances. I can say reserved instance offers two types. One is a standard and the second one is convertible. Can you guess what might be this standard and convertible? Standard means we cannot adjust the capacity of the instances. You can't increase or you can't reduce the size of the EC2 instances. Whereas in the convertible, in this case also you cannot reduce the capacity. Why? Already we have given a commitment for some resource capacity, right? 4 CPU and 2 GB of RAM. But it will allow you to increase the capacity. It will allow you to increase the capacity. So for the increased capacity, you have to make the additional payment as per the usage. And then the next one is a spot instance. The next one is spot instance. This is the cheapest purchasing model. They will provide you up to 90% discount. In the spot instances, we can get up to 90%. Now you might ask, okay, if they are providing 90% discount, everyone will create spot instances only, right? But these spot instances are not recommended for production or development purposes. These spot instances are not recommended for production or development purposes. Let us say, okay, to understand this better, Amazon is having a data center, right? Amazon is having a data center in which they are committed to provide high availability. For that reason, they will maintain some extra resources. We can say spare resources. Like whenever you're traveling on car, you might have a spare wheel, right? Whenever you have an issue with one tire, you will replace it and you can move on. The same way, Amazon maintains spare resources in their data centers to offer high availability. And these spot instances are offered from those spare resources, the extra or additional resources. But why they are not recommended for production? Spot instances can be terminated at any time by AWS with just a 2 minutes notice, and all the data stored on those servers can be lost. Why they will terminate instantly? Let us say something went wrong in the Amazon data center. In order to provide the high availability, they need to use these spare resources, right? Just they will give 2 minutes notice, an email, and they will terminate these spot instances, and they will allocate the capacity from the spot instances to the other EC2 instances. Then what is the use of the spot instances? Let us say these spot instances can be used for testing purposes or for the applications which can run with interruptions. Like whenever the instance got terminated, right, I can recreate and I can run some application for testing purpose. In such cases, I can use these spot instances to save the money. So what happened here? Total, we have three purchasing models, right? What are those three purchasing models? One is a spot, sorry, yeah, spot, reserve, and on demand. So if I say here, we have purchasing options. Sorry, let me increase the font size. Purchasing options. What are the purchasing options here we have? The first one is on demand, reserved, and then we have a spot. In the reserved instance, we have a three types. Three types of payment plans. One is a no upfront, and then partial upfront, and then full upfront. So whenever you are creating an EC2 instance, you must choose one of these purchasing options. You must choose one of these purchasing options. And after selecting the purchasing option, we have a tenancy option. We have a tenancy option. What is the tenancy option means? What is the meaning of a tenant? Any idea? What is the meaning of a tenancy? Tenant. Okay, if you are staying as a staying in a house for rent, so they will call you as a tenant, right? Like where you are located, where you are residing. So at the time of creating the EC2 instance, you must choose the tenant where your instance must be located. We have three types. One is a shared tenancy option, and then the next one is a dedicated instance, and the third one is dedicated host. These are the three tenancy options we have. Okay, I will explain this tenancy option with a simple real-time example. I don't want to get into the technical thing. I don't want to explain technically. Just to avoid the confusion, I will explain in a different way. So let us say you are staying in a PG hostel. So what happens over there? There's a twin sharing rooms, triple sharing rooms, right? Means a single room is shared by multiple people. In a single room, there are three or four beds, but for every person there is a locker. So I cannot access the other person belongings and the other person cannot access my belongings. That is what shared tenancy model means. Our EC2 instance our EC2 instance will be created on a shared hardware. A big physical server will be there in which 100 virtual machines will be created. Out of those 100, 10 servers will be mine, 10 servers will be Evan, 15 servers will be some other person, like that. We are sharing the common hardware, but every EC2 instance is isolated with each other. So that security is at the top level, but just we are sharing the physical hardware with other customers. We are sharing the physical hardware with the other customers. But all our virtual machines are isolated with each other. No one can see our data. No one can see our data. So that is a highly secure. And this is somewhat less chargeable, less cost. Shared is less cost, right? Even you can say single sharing room in a PG, in a hostel, cost you more. Twin sharing room will cost you less. Triple sharing room will cost you much lesser. Now, the next one is dedicated instance. Dedicated instance, which means for this, we can say a five-story building. We can say five-story building apartment, five-story apartment. Each floor, in each floor, let us say a single family is staying. Means the building is common, but each floor belongs to a separate customer, which means a dedicated hardware will be assigned to each and every customer. Like in a server, there are 10 customers. So that for myself, there will be a dedicated hardware, dedicated storage, and everything will be allocated. Nobody can use my hardware. A dedicated hardware will be allocated to each and every customer. Then the dedicated host means a kind of individual building, individual house. So here in Amazon, with a dedicated host tenancy option, a physical server will be allocated to you. Why we need a physical server? There are few software licenses to be purchased or activated based on the number of physical CPUs. The number of physical CPUs. Let us say if I create a virtual machine, but the physical server might have a 64 CPUs. My virtual machine is having just 4 CPU. In such cases, I have to purchase 64 CPU license. It won't work properly. So that's why you have to go for a dedicated host in which a physical server will be allocated to you. In what cases we have to go with the dedicated host? If your software license, which software? The one which you are installing or running on that particular EC2 instance is based on the number of physical CPU cores, then we must have a dedicated host to fulfill the licensing requirement. These are the three tenancy options. Then we have another option. What is the another option out of those three? One is the purchasing options, then the tenancy option, and then finally we have instance family. Instance family. AWS EC2 offers different instance families, different instance families for different use cases. For different use cases, they will offer you different instance families. Let me write down here so that I can share this particular notes in the GitHub repository. The repository link is available in the description so that you can download and you can use this for a review purpose. Instance family. So AWS EC2 offers different instance families for different use cases. Let us say you need a server for just to run a small website. I might need an EC2 instance to run a medium application. Medium application. Someone might require an EC2 instance to run an online store like Amazon online store, Flipkart, something. And someone might need an EC2 instance to train their machine learning models. Different people are having different requirements. On a small server you can't run machine learning trainings and all the things, right? For that reason Amazon is offering you different type instance families. Let me list out those: general purpose, compute optimized, accelerated computing, memory optimized, storage optimized, and then HPC. HPC stands for high performance computing. Okay, coming to the general purpose instances provides a balance of CPU, memory, and networking resources. If your application is a small application which requires balanced compute capacity, like 2 CPU, 4 GB RAM, like equal proportionals, then you have to go for general purpose. Then compute optimized instances are ideal for compute bound applications. Means if your application requires more compute capacity than the other resources, then you have to go for compute optimized instances. Then you have to go for compute optimized instances like Tomcat applications, Java applications. They require more compute capacity than the memory and all. Then the next one is accelerated computing. Accelerated computing instances will have hardware accelerators. I can say graphic cards. Generally, what is the use of a graphic cards in your laptop? If you are planning to play some high-end games, then definitely you need a graphical card, right? The same way, in the servers, sometimes we need a graphical cards, but not for playing games, for machine learning, 3D rendering, video editing tools, right? For this kind of a requirement, always it is recommended to have accelerated computing instance family. Accelerated computing instance family. Then storage optimized. Optimized instances are okay. Memory we will come back. Storage optimized instances are designed for the workloads which requires high read and write access to very huge or very large data sets. Looks like complicated. Let me make it simple. If you want to store some data, and that data is for data analytics, you want to perform some data analytics, data analysis, then to store such kind of a data, storage optimized instances are recommended. Then memory optimized instances. The memory optimized instances are designed to deliver fast performance, fast performance for the workloads which process that data sets in the memory. Best example, databases, in-memory caching service. In all these cases, memory optimized instances are recommended. And finally, the HPC, high performing computing capacity, computing instance family. These are designed for very compute intensive high performing workloads, such as in the industries, there is something called weather forecasting analysis, weather analysis and weather forecasting, or fluid dynamics, molecular, into the chemicals research and development, molecular dynamics. In these cases, they use HPC. For us, not required. But if that is for like a supercomputers, right? Not a supercomputer. What is the use of a supercomputer? Which will do billions of processes per second, right? In the same way, whenever you need an instance which is more than all these instance families, then it is required to go for HPC optimized instance. Okay, so finally, what we know, whenever we are creating the EC2 instance, you have to choose first thing purchasing option, right? Then you have to select tenancy option. Then you have to select instance family. And here in the regular, in the real time, we don't care, we don't remember all these things, theory part. But as a fresher in the interview, it is required to know all this theory part. Okay. So while creating the EC2 instance, we have to select the instance type. Choose the following things. One is instance family, and then size of the EC2 instance. What is the meaning of that? At the time of creating the EC2 instance, first you will select the purchasing model, then you will select tenancy option, then you have to select instance type. Instance type contains two things. One is instance family, and the second one is size of the EC2 instance. Let us say example T3.micro. This is an example of instance type, or C7. No one can remember whatever the instances I use regularly. Those names I'm using here. Okay, what exactly this? Let's take this example, C7gn.xlarge. In this, C stands for instance family. Based on the C, we can guess what instance family it is. Then the 7 is the generation, seventh generation processor, like i3, i5, i7, i9, right? In the C category family, is the seventh generation. Earlier, we used to have a C5, C6. Whenever it's the higher number, that is the latest one, G. G stands for processor type. G stands for graviton. N. N means additional capacity. N means additional capacity. X large. This is the instance size. Based on the X large, you can identify how many CPUs, how much RAM, and what network bandwidth you will get. If you see the example of T3.micro, T instance family, 3 third generation, micro. Okay, let me show you EC2 instance family. There is a website. I mean, there is a documentation page, docs.amazon.com. If you go there, you can see every piece of information about your EC2. So available instance types. See here, M5 gen. Earlier here we have a C, right? C7. What is that I mentioned? C7G. Let us see what instance family type it is. C7G, which is a compute optimized. These are Xen based instances, but C7 is Nitro. If you go for the older ones, C1, C3, C4, they are Xen based, and C7 is a Nitro based. And we have these many processors: Intel processor, AMD, Graviton, Titanium, Inferentia. These are the different processors available. In our example, C7G. G is a Graviton processor. Graviton processor. Okay, what is the X large? Let us see that also. I will give you this link also. I can say reference this URL. Okay, what is our case? C7, right? C7 is a compute optimized. C7G, where is the C7G here? C7GN, X large, right? X large. How many CPUs you will get? 4 CPUs, 8 GB of RAM, network bandwidth up to 40, storage bandwidth is up to 10 Gbps. Storage, I mean, the data can be copied, throughput should be up to 10 Gbps. So in the same way, let us go with the T3 dot micro, because that also I mentioned T3 dot micro, 2 CPU, 1 GB of RAM, but you will get up to 5 Gbps network performance. Let us go with something else, Mac. Even Amazon supports you with a Mac operating system. Only one, they are physical machines. They will give you physical, not a virtual, because Mac doesn't support virtualization. Mac one metal, 12 CPU, 32 GB of RAM. Generally, this Mac will be used by developers to install their development tools and all the things. We have these things: Mac 1 Metal, Mac 2 Metal, Mac 2 M1 Ultra Metal, 20 CPU, 120 GB of RAM, 8 CPU, 24 GB of RAM. That's limited types of instances available for Mac. So we learned that to create an EC2 instance, we must choose three things. One is purchasing option. The second one is tenancy option, and the third one is instance type. While creating the EC2 instance, we have to know some terminology. We have to know some terminology. Let me list out all the things. Then we will discuss about each and every term. The first one, Amazon Machine Image, which is also known as AMI, network, subnet, IP address, in which we have public IP, private IP, security group, key pair, instance type, and a storage. These are the key terminologies, mandatory terms we must know before creating. And in the public IP, we have two subcategories: auto assign public IP and elastic IP. These are two subcategories under public IP. Let us talk about each and every term. Okay, let us say you are going to create a server. Assume that you are going to create a server, or you are going to purchase a laptop. Let us compare with a laptop. Okay, what exactly we need? What you will consider before purchasing a laptop? What all you will consider? First, you will decide CPU RAM, right? First, you will decide how much CPU you need, how much RAM you need, and all. So here that can be selected using instance family, and then you have to choose purchasing model, then you have to choose tenancy option, right? So at this stage, what all you got the CPU, you got RAM, you got everything, hardware, right? Then what else we need? We must have an operating system, right? You must have an operating system. It can be a Windows, it can be a Linux. If you want to install an operating system in your machine, what you will do? You will get that operating system image that will be written into a CD or a pen drive, and you will install the operating system, right? While installing, while installing the operating system, we will do some configuration, right? Computer name, username, password, right? All these things are mandatory. So here, AWS offers you the operating system. I mean, you can choose the operating system with the help of Amazon Machine Image. AMI is an image which contains operating system, configuration of the operating system, and optional softwares if any. So at the time of creating the EC2 instance, my requirement is to choose a Windows 2016 operating system or Windows Server 2019 operating system. And again, you can't get Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows 11 things in AWS. Okay, it's only server operating system. We will see at the time of creating our first EC2 instance. So you can select the operating system with the help of Amazon Machine Image. In the Amazon Machine Image, you will get the required operating system, basic configuration of the operating system, basic setup, settings, and everything, and optional softwares if any. Sometimes I might need an EC2 instance with some basic softwares like MS Office. For example, I'm saying MS Office. Let us say a database software or a web server software, something. So there are like thousands of Amazon machine images which you can choose as per your requirement. And then the network. Your EC2 instance must be connected in a network for communication. If there is no network, if there is no network, you can't log into the instance first. There is no communication from your laptop with the EC2 instance. And the entire network will be divided into smaller subnets. Like you have a house. What you will do, you will divide that entire house into small rooms, right? One room is for bedroom, the other room is for a guest room, one is a living room, and the kitchen room, like that. Each room is designed for a specific use case. The same way, the subnet, you can create many subnets, but by default, in every region, Amazon will provide you one network, multiple subnets. How many subnets? It depends on how many availability zones you have in that particular region. Let us say Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, we have a three availability zones. So in Hyderabad network, you will get three subnets. All the subnets are public subnets, means whatever the instances are created over there, they can be accessible from anywhere based on the security configurations. Then the IP address. What is IP address? IP address is like your mobile number. If you want to make a call to you, you must have a mobile number and I must know your mobile number. The same way, address of your instances, servers is, your servers will be identified with the address. And there are two types of addresses. One is a public IP address and the second one is a private IP address. Public IP address means which can be accessible from anywhere across the globe, like your mobile number. Private IP address means which can be accessible only within the same network, like intercom number. If you go for a big gated communities, they will maintain intercoms, right? Using that, they can communicate uh, within that gated community or within that building. So private IP address is only for internal communication within the network. Public IP is for communicating with the internet. In the public IP, there are two IP addresses available: auto assign public IP and elastic IP. Auto assign public IP, that's a free of cost. Amazon will not charge you. But whenever you stop and start the EC2 instance, IP address will get changed. Auto assign public IP is getting changed. There is a dynamic public IP. Elastic IP address is a fixed public IP which will be allocated exclusively for you. It won't be changed, but it is a chargeable that we will discuss. Then security group. Security group means security group is a firewall. Security group is a firewall like this. Let us say here I am the user. I'm trying to log in. First, my request will go to the security group. It's a firewall. It will not allow anything by default. So you can create some rules so that the incoming traffic will be allowed to enter into your EC2 instance. Security group is a firewall at the EC2 instance. Then the next one is we will see how to create and all. The next one is a key pair. So for your EC2 instance, there should be a username and password, right? And these will be auto generated by default. They don't give a fixed IP, fixed password for you. So here key pair is The key pair is the combination of public key and private key. What it will do, whenever you create the EC2 instance, a random password will be generated. Let us say the password is 123456. This has to be stored on Amazon, right? Instead of storing this in a plain format, they will encrypt it and they will store it. I mean, in a different format like this, X, Y, A, 2, 3, Z. This is the encrypted form of 123456. How they will encrypt it? Using the public key. Once the instance got created, if you want to see what is the password, you have to decrypt it. How to decrypt? Using the private key. Looks like it is too complicated, but that is easy. We don't need a rocket science to do all these things. Once we complete the practical, it will be more clear and it will be more easy. So whenever you click on show password, you have to use this private key so that it will decrypt the password and it will display the actual password. That is what the key pair is. That is what the key pair is. Instance type, already we have covered. Storage is mandatory, right? Without a storage, you can't run your EC2 instances, you can't install your operating system and all. So here you can see like 30 GB storage, 50 GB storage, 100 GB storage. Depends on your requirement. You can select the size of the storage. These all are mandatory things which has to be chosen at the time of at the time of EC2 instance creation. So just we covered the theory part, but you must go through all this terminology. Otherwise, you can't understand the concept of EC2 properly. Okay, so if you have any questions on EC2 topic, feel free to ask the questions in the comment section and I will answer all your questions. If you think this video is helpful to you, please like, share, and subscribe. In the next video, we will see the hands-on exercises on the EC2 topic, like create the EC2 instances, Windows and Linux both, log into those Windows server and Linux server. Okay, right. Thank you, everyone.